Okay, so you guys want us to take a deep dive into the 101 California street shooting in San Francisco back in 1993.
Ah, yeah. A lot of people have requested that one.
Definitely a tragic event. And we got a lot of material here: articles, legal documents, even some firsthand accounts.
Wow, intense stuff.
So we'll try to, do justice to the gravity of this
Oh,
situation.
sure.
But also, you know us, we love to dig in and find those little hidden
Yeah,
details.
those gems of insight you wouldn't find just, skimming the headlines.
Right. So let's unpack all of this: what happened, why it might have happened.
And the ripples, the ways this event, reverberated through society.
Exactly.
It's a complex event, though. I mean,
Yeah,
the motive behind the shooting, it's pretty murky.
for sure.
And understanding the legal landscape surrounding gun control back then, it's key to, fully grasping the lasting impact this event had,
Yeah.
not just on individuals, but on the legal community as a whole,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Okay, so let's set the stage.
Okay.
1993, San Francisco.
A city on the verge of the dot-com boom.
Yeah, but still very much defined by the aftermath of the '89 earthquake.
Definitely.
Our story centers on Gianluigi Ferri.
A 55-year-old failed entrepreneur.
Right. Who chose a very specific, very symbolic target for his rage.
101 California Street.
Yeah, home to multiple law firms.
Interesting choice of location.
Mm.
It suggests, a calculated decision, targeting a symbol of the legal system itself
Yeah.
and Ferry's background. It paints a disturbing picture. There's that anecdote about the lawyer joke.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
The one where he's asked who he'd shoot first.
Yeah.
Given a gun with 2 bullets and a room with Saddam Hussein, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and a lawyer.
Right. And he said
I'd shoot the lawyer.
twice. Yeah.
Wow.
It really does kind of paint a chilling picture of his mindset.
It does.
But here's the thing. Even though Ferry had some dealings with the law firm Pettit and Martin, this was way back in 1981.
Oh, wow.
They hadn't had any contact with him for a full 12 years before the shooting.
That's a long time. It adds to the mystery.
Yeah.
What triggered this delayed reaction?
Right.
What festered in Ferry's mind for so long? That led him to target this specific firm after more than a decade.
Okay, well, on July 1st, 1993, around 2:57 in the afternoon, Ferry walked into 101 California Street.
Armed and ready.
I'm not talking just a pistol here.
No.
He had 2 Tech-9 handguns with Hellfire trigger systems, a .45 caliber semi-automatic, and was carrying a mix of Black Talon hollow point and standard ammunition.
Whoa.
Even had spare magazines taped together for faster reloading. This wasn't some spontaneous act of rage.
No.
This was methodical, planned.
The arsenal he brought with him.
Yeah.
It really points to premeditation. It's like he was preparing for war.
Yeah.
And in a sense, he was.
Yeah, he waged war on those people in that building.
He turned a normal workday into a scene of absolute terror.
He actually started his rampage on the 34th floor.
Okay.
Turns out a secretary accidentally sent him to the wrong floor
Oh, no.
when she called an elevator for him.
Oh, wow. Talk about a bizarre twist of fate.
Right.
Imagine being that secretary, realizing, the role you inadvertently played in this tragedy.
Yeah.
It's a chilling thought.
It is. It really makes you think about all the small, seemingly insignificant events that can have such huge, unintended consequences.
Yeah,
The butterfly effect in
Yeah.
its most tragic form.
exactly. From there, Ferry moved methodically through the building, floor by floor, just firing, seemingly at random.
August.
Imagine the chaos, the sheer terror, as people realize what's happening,
Yeah.
trapped in their offices.
Desperately trying to find safety.
You've got to wonder what was going through the minds of those people as they heard gunshots getting closer.
I know. Knowing that this man was coming for them.
It's a scenario that, plays out in nightmares. And ultimately, before the police could apprehend him, Ferry committed suicide
Oh, wow.
as they closed in, leaving behind a scene of carnage
Yeah.
and a mountain of unanswered questions.
8 people lost their lives that day. Right. And 6 others were injured, some with wounds that would impact them
For the rest of their lives.
for the rest of their lives.
And let's not forget Victoria Smith,
Yeah.
who clung to life for 2 years
Mm.
before succumbing to her injuries in 1995.
Right.
Yeah. Her case is a stark reminder that the impact of this event, went far beyond that one day in July.
The ripples of this tragedy, they spread far and wide, touching lives in ways we might not initially even consider. But before we dive into that, let's take a moment to remember that these weren't just statistics.
Right.
These were real people with lives, families, and dreams.
Cut tragically short.
Cut tragically short.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few of the victims here, just to, get a sense of the human cost of this tragedy.
Yeah, right.
John Scully, a young lawyer, he was actually killed shielding his wife from gunfire.
Oh, my God.
She was just visiting him for lunch when the shooting began.
Imagine that, going out for a casual lunch
Mhm.
with your spouse, and suddenly you're in the middle of, a horrific shooting. It really underscores the randomness,
Yeah,
the sheer unpredictability of these events.
absolutely. And then there's Jack Berman, another lawyer, known for his pro bono work.
Okay.
He was in the middle of a deposition when Ferry entered the room and opened fire.
Oh, wow. For those unfamiliar with, legal proceedings, a
Yeah.
deposition is basically an out-of-court sworn testimony,
Right.
often used to gather evidence. Can you imagine the fear, the confusion, of those present, going from, like, a routine legal process to a life-or-death situation
Yeah, it's hard to fathom.
in the blink of an eye?
And his death, it really resonated within the legal community.
Yeah.
The California Lawyers Association, they now present an award in Berman's name
Oh, wow.
to honor his commitment to justice.
That's great. It speaks to the profound impact he had
Oh,
on his colleagues
yeah.
and the broader legal community. It's like they're trying to keep his spirit alive
Right.
to ensure his dedication to justice isn't forgotten.
Okay, turning back to Ferry.
Okay.
He left behind a rambling 4-page letter, riddled with grammatical errors and misspellings.
Okay.
That offered some clues, but no clear answers. He claimed to have been poisoned by MSG, railed against various groups, but none of his actual victims were part of any of those groups.
It's like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle
Right.
where half the pieces are missing
Yeah.
and the ones you do have don't quite fit.
So how do we make sense of this? Have you in your work ever encountered similar situations where logic kind of breaks down?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This lack of a clear, rational motive, it's actually a common thread in cases like this.
Yeah. Right.
The perpetrator often leaves behind a manifesto
Right.
or some attempted explanation, but it rarely, if ever, makes sense. It often reveals more about their distorted reality, their descent into delusion,
Yeah.
than any specific logical reason
Yeah.
for their actions. It's like trying to apply logic
Yeah.
to a fundamentally illogical act.
I see what you're saying. Like in online discussions, about really sensitive topics, where someone's deeply held beliefs might lead them to, adopt completely illogical arguments.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We see it all the time, especially in online spaces, right?
Right.
Where anonymity and echo chambers, they can amplify these distorted realities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reminder that logic and reason, they aren't always, the driving forces behind human behavior,
Right.
especially when it comes to, emotionally charged issues.
Right. It's unsettling to think that reason can be so easily overridden by things like paranoia, resentment.
It is, but it also, highlights the importance of critical thinking, questioning information,
Right.
not taking things at face value, right?
Right.
It's a skill that's arguably more important now than ever before
Yeah.
in this age of information overload
Yeah.
and misinformation.
Yeah. Okay, so this shooting, it did spark a massive debate about gun control in the U.S.
For sure.
You mentioned the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994.
Oh, the 94 crime bill.
Right, the 94 Crime Bill, as it's often called.
Yeah.
Which was passed in direct response to this event
Yeah.
and other high-profile shootings.
Right.
What were some of the key elements of that legislation, and how did it impact the gun control debate?
Well, the 1994 crime bill was a huge piece of legislation. It tackled a bunch of criminal justice issues, but one of its most controversial elements was the federal assault weapons ban.
Okay.
This ban outlawed the manufacture, the transfer, and possession of certain semi-automatic firearms, classified as assault weapons, along with large-capacity magazines.
Okay.
It was a direct response to the growing public fear around gun violence, fueled in no small part by tragedies like what happened at 101 California Street.
So this was like a pretty big moment in the history of gun control legislation in the U.S., right?
It was, yeah. It was incredibly divisive.
How did it play out politically? Was there a lot of resistance to it?
Oh, yeah, tons. Supporters saw it as, a necessary step to curb gun violence and protect public safety. They often cited, the devastating impact of mass shootings and highlighted the increasing availability of these types of firearms.
Yeah.
Opponents argued it infringed on Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
and wouldn't really address the root causes of crime.
Okay.
They claim criminals would always find ways to get these weapons, regardless of any bans.
It sounds like a classic case of, like, two sides talking past each other, each entrenched in their own beliefs about gun control.
Yeah, it really exemplifies the deep ideological rift,
Yeah.
in American society when it comes to firearms. To this day, it remains one of the most, heated and polarizing issues
Yeah.
in American politics.
Yeah.
Every mass shooting reignites this debate
Right.
with renewed fervor. And the 1994 crime bill continues to be a touchstone in those discussions.
Okay. So what happened to the assault weapons ban? It was a big deal at the time, but I don't really hear much about it now.
Well, it had a sunset provision, meaning it was set to expire after 10 years, unless Congress voted to renew it.
Yeah.
And in 2004, it did expire.
So after a decade of this ban, did it actually work?
Yeah.
Did it reduce gun violence?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, there isn't a clear-cut answer.
Yeah.
Some studies suggest it might have had a small effect on reducing gun violence, but others found no statistically significant impact.
Yeah.
There's just too many variables to isolate the ban's true effect.
It's amazing how something as, like, seemingly straightforward as an assault weapons ban can become so complex when you try to measure its effectiveness in the real world.
Yeah, it's a testament to how intertwined social issues are.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is to isolate the impact of any single policy change. It also shows just how deeply rooted the gun debate is in American culture and politics. The 101 California street shooting certainly added fuel to that fire, but the flames were already burning brightly long before that tragic day.
And speaking of the lasting impact of this event, what about the organizations that were formed in its aftermath? How have they contributed to the fight against gun violence?
Well, the Legal Community Against Violence
Uh-huh.
and the Jack Berman Advocacy Center,
Okay.
they've both been instrumental in, shaping the conversation, advocating for policy changes. They've worked tirelessly to educate the public, lawmakers,
Right.
and law enforcement about the dangers of gun violence and the need for, comprehensive solutions.
It's inspiring to see how something so terrible can spark such positive action. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
Right? Even in the face of, unimaginable tragedy, there's this drive to make things better, to prevent such horrors from happening again. These organizations channel that grief, that anger into constructive action, aiming to create a safer world for everyone.
Yeah, we've explored the event itself, the shooters, murky motives.
The ripples in gun control legislation and the emergence of organizations dedicated to fighting gun violence.
Yeah.
But we haven't yet touched on the individual lives shattered that day.
You're absolutely right. We've talked about the, societal impact, but the individual human cost, the families of the victims, the survivors, the witnesses. That's where the true weight of this tragedy lies. These people, they carry the scars of that day, both physically and emotionally.
It's easy to get caught up in the big picture stuff, but it's important to remember that this event had a deeply personal impact on so many lives.
It did.
How did these people cope with the trauma, the grief, the loss?
Well, for many, it's been a long and arduous journey. They've had to face, the emotional scars.
The nightmares.
The nightmares.
Survivor's guilt.
It's survivor's guilt, right.
Yeah.
Some find solace in, therapy, support groups, their faith. Others channel their pain into activism.
Working to prevent, future tragedies.
That's a powerful way to turning pain into purpose.
It is. It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit.
Yeah.
For some, it's about honoring the memory of those they lost. By, working to make the world a safer place. For others, it's about finding a way to live a full and meaningful life, despite the trauma they've endured.
And what about the law firm at the heart of this tragedy, Pettit and Martin?
Right.
You mentioned earlier that they dissolved in 1995?
They did, yeah.
Was that solely because of the shooting, or were there, other factors at play?
Well, while the shooting undoubtedly had a, profound impact, the firm was already facing challenges before that day.
Okay.
Financial pressures.
Right.
Internal conflicts.
Okay.
Changing, legal landscape. The shooting acted as a catalyst, amplifying these issues and ultimately, leading to the firm's dissolution.
Like the shooting kind of tore open a wound that was already there, just below the surface.
Precisely. It exposed vulnerabilities that might have otherwise, remained manageable or hidden. The emotional trauma, the loss of key personnel, the hit to their reputation. It was just too much for them to overcome.
So the shooting wasn't the sole cause, but it definitely dealt the final blow. It's a stark reminder that even, powerful institutions can be fragile. Vulnerable to, the unexpected turns of fate.
It underscores the importance of building resilience. Both individually and within organizations. Having systems in place to deal with crises, fostering a culture that can, adapt and recover from adversity.
It's a sobering thought that even those at the top aren't immune to the forces beyond their control.
It emphasizes that preparedness and adaptability are essential. Whether it's an individual, facing personal tragedy or an institution grappling with unexpected challenges, the ability to, adapt and recover is crucial.
Okay. So we've examined the societal impact, the legal and political ramifications, and the deeply personal tolls this event took. But what about its impact on our understanding of human behavior? What can we learn from this tragedy about the darker aspects of human nature, about the potential for violence? That, to some degree, resides within us all.
That's a profound question. That has puzzled philosophers, psychologists, and criminologists for centuries. What drives a person to commit such a horrific act? Is it mental illness, social isolation, a warped ideology, or is it just a manifestation of the inherent darkness that, to some degree, we all carry within us?
It's a terrifying thought. The idea that anyone is capable of such darkness.
The 101 California street shooting, all acts of mass violence, it forces us to confront that, uncomfortable reality that evil exists. That there are people who are capable of inflicting unimaginable suffering on others. But it also compelled us to try and understand, to delve into the complexities of, human behavior and explore the factors that contribute to these tragedies.
It's like peering into the abyss, trying to comprehend something that's fundamentally incomprehensible.
And while we may never, fully understand the depths of human darkness, striving for understanding is essential. It's through this pursuit that we can, develop strategies for prevention, intervention, and ultimately, for creating a safer and more just world.
So what can we as individuals do to, contribute to that effort?
Well, first and foremost, we can educate ourselves. Learn about the risk factors, the warning signs, the resources available for intervention. We can support organizations working to prevent violence and advocate for policies that promote safety and well-being.
It sounds like, knowledge is power. And becoming more informed empowers us to take, meaningful action.
Absolutely. We can also, cultivate empathy and compassion in our daily lives. Reach out to those struggling, offer support to those in need, and strive to build a more inclusive and just society. These may seem like small acts, but they have the potential to create a ripple effect. Fostering a more positive and supportive environment for everyone.
It's a good reminder that change begins with us.
It does.
With the choices we make and the actions we take, each day.
Even in the face of darkness, hope remains. There are people dedicated to making a difference. To building a better world. And we can all contribute to that effort in our own way.
It can be overwhelming to consider the scale of this issue, the sheer number of lives impacted by gun violence.
For sure.
But even within that darkness, there are those glimmers of hope.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the resilience of the human spirit, the tireless work of those trying to prevent future tragedies.
Absolutely.
Those are stories worth highlighting as well.
Look at the families of the victims, who have kind of transformed their grief into action, advocating for safer communities, or the survivors who bravely share their stories to help others, understand the lasting impact of gun violence. Those are powerful acts of resilience
And it's not just, the big headline-grabbing actions.
Right.
It's also about, those everyday acts of kindness, people reaching out to those in need,
Yeah.
offering, a listening ear or a shoulder to cry on.
For sure.
These small gestures can make a real difference.
They can. It's about fostering a culture of empathy and support.
Right, and let's not forget those organizations we talked about,
Right.
like the Legal Community Against Violence and the Jack Berman Advocacy Center.
Yeah, they're on the front lines, right?
Yeah.
Fighting to change laws, educate communities,
Right.
provide resources for those affected by, gun violence.
Right. Yeah, their work is a powerful testament to the idea that even in the face of tragedy, we can choose hope. We can choose action.
We can.
This whole deep dive wasn't just for us to, just talk. It was for you listening out there. What can you do to be a part of the solution?
Well, it doesn't require, grand gestures or anything.
Yeah.
Start by, educating yourself about the issue. Support organizations working to prevent gun violence. Have honest conversations with your friends and family about, this complex topic. Small steps can lead to bigger changes.
Even, engaging with this deep dive is a step in the right direction.
It is. It all starts with awareness.
Exactly. The more we understand the issue, the better equipped we are to, to find solutions.
Right.
As we wrap up here, I want to leave you with something to think about. We've discussed the events, the victims, the shooter, and the ripple effects of this tragedy, but there are some questions we may never have answers to.
Right.
What truly motivated John Luigi Ferri? Were there missed warning signs? Could this have been prevented?
Those are the questions that linger.
Yeah.
The 101 California street shooting, like many such tragedies, leaves us with more questions than answers.
Right.
And it's, those unanswered questions that continue to haunt, researchers and those who try to, understand the darkest corners of the human psyche.
Maybe by, wrestling with those questions, by refusing to shy away from the uncomfortable truths they expose. We can find a path forward, a path to a future where these events are less likely, where communities are safer, where the human spirit can triumph over even the darkest adversity.
It's a journey, that requires courage, compassion, a willingness to have, those difficult conversations.
Right.
But it's a journey worth taking.
It is.
For the victims, for our communities.
Yeah.
For all of us.
That concludes our deep dive into the 101 California street shooting. It's a story of darkness, but also one of hope and resilience.
It is.
So keep exploring this topic, engage with those resources we mentioned, and find your own way to make a difference. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep striving for a better world.